All right, here goes the second word problem. And we have that the rainfall over the course of a year in Bali, Indonesia, as a function of time can be modeled by a sinusoidal expression of the form A sine of BT plus D. Now, at time 0 in the middle of April, the expected daily rainfall is 2.3, which is the average value throughout the year. So because it's the average value, we can expect that that's going to be our midline, right in the middle. So when time is 0, we have 2.3. And then a quarter of the year later, we end up with, which is T equals 91.25. Quarter year, that means a full year would be 1 year, 365 days. We'll talk about that in a little bit. So the rainfall is at its minimum. So they're giving us a minimum. So our time is 91.25, and that minimum value is 1.4. That daily rainfall is 1.4. So let's go ahead. Let's draw the X and Y axis. I really need to be prepared and do this before I start the video, but there's no fun in that. So let's just go ahead. Let's draw this out. So I'll start with our first point, 0, 2.3. You guys sometimes get a little confused on where to put that. I'll just mark this 2.3 somewhere. It doesn't really matter too much. We're just using this as a visual reference. So obviously as a sign, we're starting with the midline, then going to the minimum. So we're starting like that. Would be a negative sign though, right? So it'd be negative of whatever we're going to get. So it's going to be A sine of BT plus D. So we'll make A negative in this case. Anyways, we'll go out here, put 91.25 and 1.4. So let's start with D. That's always kind of the easiest one. So D is going to be our midline, and they gave us that our midline is right there at 2.3. Sorry, that looks really bad. Just really nervous making this video right now. There we go. So that's 2.3. That's going to be our midline, so 2.3. And then our amplitude. So what's the distance from the midline to the bottom here? So that distance, 2.3 minus 1.4, I believe that's 0.9, 0.9. So let's go ahead and figure out our period. So a quarter of our period is 91.25. And that means that we go ahead and solve for P by multiplying the 4. We get 365. So our period is 365. And that makes sense because a quarter of the year, so a quarter of our period is 91.25, and that would have to mean that the period is a year. So anyways, the period's 365, so B, we set 2 pi over B equal to the 365. Put that over 1, cross multiply, 365 times B equals 2 pi. So B will equal 2 pi over 365. Oh, made a mistake there. First mistake all year. And I also forgot, second mistake all year, that our A is negative because it is a flipped sine curve. So you just go ahead and put that all together. So we'll get negative 0.9 sine of 2 pi over 365 T plus 2.3. And there's your answer.